The Europa League teams are all just 3 wins away from becoming champions. Hey everyone, I'm Adrian, and welcome to this preview for the Europa League quarterfinals. My first Europa League video of the season, actually, but with the culmination of this season's edition of the Europa League being played out like a mini tournament in Germany, man, how could I resist? This is exciting stuff. Also, don't forget to join us for our tradition of the Champions League watch-alongs. I always have a ton of fun watching these matches with you guys, and we'll certainly do a Europa League watch-along as well at some point. But the first Champions League watch-along you can watch along with me, how many times can I say watch-along, will be this Saturday. Barcelona versus Napoli. Let's start out with one of the favorites of the competition in Manchester United, as they look to win their first trophy since Jose Mourinho won this very trophy for the club back in May of 2017. In that first season where they got the League Cup and the Europa League, nothing ever since. But with the funds that have been given to Solskjaer to invest in Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and Bruno Fernandes, the latter of which perhaps having the biggest influence, coupled with the emergence of Mason Greenwood and the fine form of Rashford and Martial, United look a much better team these days than they did even just 8 months ago before Bruno arrived. Martial, by the way, is now officially their top scorer across all competitions following his goal against Lask. Thankfully for Solskjaer, they had pretty much destroyed Lask's hopes of advancing to the quarterfinals during the first leg in Austria, where United won 5-0. 5 away goals. So United will have a fairly rested squad as they started the likes of Lingard, Daniel James, Fosu Mensah, Idian Agallo, Mata, etc. in that second leg, which they also won 2-1, so 7-1 on aggregate. For FC Kobenhavn, they've won their last 3 matches across all competitions, but they put in a terrible effort domestically in the Danish Superliga Championship playoffs, winning just 3 of their 10 matches in that round robin, finishing second from bottom. Perhaps their biggest contribution being handing a loss to AAB and thus potentially costing them a shot at the title. I say potentially because we don't know what would have happened in their other matches as well. In the Europa League, however, they have been quite good. After losing the first leg in Istanbul to Istanbul Başakşehir, the newly crowned Turkish champions, by the way, Kobenhavn then won 3-0 at home to take the tie 3-1 on aggregate. Very impressive from them as they continue to stand strong in the Europa League. They beat Celtic 4-2 on aggregate in the round of 32, including a 3-1 win at Celtic Park, which is again impressive. United hadn't been at their best to close out the season. The results were still okay, but their overall play had been, I wouldn't say poor at times, but uninspiring. But that said, I still think they'll be advancing to the semifinals from this one-off match. I do think that Kobenhavn will be tougher for them than perhaps some might think, but United not being able to advance against Kobenhavn could only be seen as a big failure and not something that I see happening, to be honest with you. Solskjaer up against his old teammate, by the way, and Ståle Solbakken. Football started back up again in Ukraine back at the end of May, and Shakhtar have been pretty incredible since then. They won the championship, and they have only dropped points twice, 2 draws, but other than that, they have won 8 of their 10 matches across all competitions since football has returned for them. Their matchup against Wolfsburg in the round of 16, a decent Bundesliga side, you'll remember, but not incredible. It was a breeze for Shakhtar. They impressively won 2-1 in Germany in the first leg, despite having to take on a barrage of shots from Wolfsburg. And in the return leg in Kiev, it looked like it could get interesting when Koszolava was sent off, but with Brooks getting sent off as well, Shakhtar continued to control the match quite well, and a late blitz saw them score 3 in as many minutes, 89th, 91st, and 92nd. They would have been through anyways, but hey, a little extra spice on the side never hurt anyone. 5-1 on aggregate, that's a commanding victory over the 7th placed Bundesliga club. Basel, they've had a fantastic Europa League as they were Group C winners and they slapped Apoel 4-0 on aggregate in the round of the 32 and then slapped Eintracht Frankfurt, last season's semi-finalists, 4-0 on aggregate as well. They won the first leg in Germany 3-0 and then back at St. Jakob Park, a late goal from Fabian Frey gave them the win on the night and added to their comfort on aggregate. I've honestly really liked the few matches that I've seen from Basel this season in the Europa League. They've lost just 1 match, which was when they went away to Krasnodar, and a penalty was the difference in that match. But otherwise, they've won their last 5 matches in the competition and have had a clean sheet in every single one of those matches. They're a tough team to break down, so seeing how they do against the Brazil of the East, the Shakhtar Samba boys, and their attack will be ice meeting fire. If Basel can weather the storm a bit, I do fancy their chances of advancing, but in simply looking at their Europa League form, that's missing the mark a bit, as domestically they haven't been superb since the restart. With the August heat in Schalke, where this quarterfinal is being played, by the way, the Brazilians will feel right at home. I'm joking. Partially. But I think Shakhtar will make it past Basel and into the semis. That attack, man, it looks too potent, even for a defensively sound team like Basel. Will Shakhtar be bringing Europa League glory back to the club following their triumph back in the 08-09 season? We'll see. Okay, now we're getting to the matches that I am definitely looking forward to the most. Wolves versus Sevilla is a pretty stellar matchup, and while Sevilla finished in 4th in La Liga, their form certainly belies their final placement, as they exhibited against AS Roma in one of the one-off round of 16 ties from the Europa League this past week. Julen Lopetegui has Sevilla playing some great football, as they closed out the La Liga season with a 15-match unbeaten run, the second longest active unbeaten run in the league when it came to its close, as they finished on level points with Atletico Madrid. They had the 3rd best defense in the league and the 5th best attack, and their Europa League form has been hot. Well, not quite mega hot, as they advanced on away goals against Cluj in the round of 32 after topping their group, but they won quite competently over AS Roma in the round of 16, a 2-0 win in Germany. I really like Sevilla's attack of En-Nesyri, Ocampos, and Suso, while their defense has been fantastic, as exhibited against AS Roma once again. They were lights out against them. They conceded just 1 shot on target. That's amazing. Wolves, on the other hand, have also been great in their first Europa League campaign. They had just a single loss in the group stage, finishing a point behind Braga in the standings. Then they smacked up the worst team in Spain as they beat Espanyol, relegated in 20th place, 6-3 on aggregate. Not the greatest second leg from Wolves there, but they did rotate the squad a little bit, so they labored a little against Olympiacos, which isn't necessarily a surprise or a bad thing, considering Olympiacos is a good side that booted Arsenal from the Europa League. So they aren't exactly a slouch, are they? A 1-1 tie in Greece put them in the driver's seat, and then Raul Jimenez scored from the spot at home to take them through 2-1 on aggregate. Jimenez, by the way, what a season. Guy has been involved in as many goals across all competitions as Kevin De Bruyne this season, which means he's tied for the most of all players who play in England. They're going to have to be a bit better against Sevilla, though. Olympiacos were playing with a very high line that was easy for Wolves to break through once they were a goal up. And Wolves were a bit wasteful with their opportunities, and they won't be afforded that kind of wastefulness against a team like Sevilla, where they might not get as many chances. Plus, it's not as though Olympiacos didn't come close a few times themselves. Patricio made a massive match-saving save at the end. A strike that hit the side netting came very close for Olympiacos as well. It was sketchy at times. Sevilla have never lost a Europa League quarterfinal, and I think that run will continue. Not just because of their pedigree in the tournament, but because of how well they've played lately. Wolves haven't had their strongest finish to their season, winning just 3 of 7, and with the way Sevilla are playing, I think it will be Sevilla taking a spot in the semifinals in Germany. I mean, I would love to see Nuno and Wolves continue, because what a story, but I think that Sevilla will get it done. And here we are, the most interesting match, in my opinion, as the 3-time UEFA/Europa League winners Inter Milan will take on the champions of the 87-88 edition, Bayer Leverkusen. I had to go way back for that one. Leverkusen have been in fine form in this competition, while their domestic form tailed off a little bit as they put in a limp noodle performance in the DFB Pokal final. Mind you, against Bayern Munich, you can't fault too many teams with the way that Bayern is playing. And in the Bundesliga, they slipped down to 5th for their final resting place. Overall, their season has been pretty decent. After dropping down from the Champions League, a Kai Havertz-inspired Leverkusen smashed Porto 5-2 on aggregate, and in the round of 16, they dealt with Steven Gerrard's Rangers just as easily, beating them 3-1 at Ibrox and 1-0 back in Germany. Their attack has been pretty fun to watch, with Volland up top, Havertz and the young Florian Wirtz tucked behind him, Havertz on the right typically, and Diaby on the left flank. And their defense isn't too bad either, with the Bender boys, Tapsoba and Sinkraven holding things down at that end. They really should have won by a lot more against Rangers than the second leg. 1-0 was flattering for Rangers. I mean, I guess they were shaking off the rust a little bit after not playing a competitive match for a month now. That's Leverkusen I'm talking about, by the way. As for Inter, there will be no such rust as they have been going strong since the end of June, as the Serie A had plenty of matches to complete still following the COVID break. Inter have had a solid season under Antonio Conte, a solid first under Conte, despite Conte once again showing signs of a relapse as far as blowing his current club up and saying he isn't getting backed enough, and there's rumors he might not stay, but I mean, he put those rumors to bed for now. But by all accounts, it has to be considered a good season for Inter, as they finished 1 point behind Juve in the standings with their highest point total since the Mourinho days. Wow, that's not bad, though I do feel like they were capable of much more. Their signings have been decent for the most part, bar perhaps Eriksen, who, I mean, it seems like he's still finding his feet, to be fair to him, but he'll get there soon. Alexis Sanchez has actually been superb for them in the last few matches, and of course, Lukaku has perhaps been their player of the season. In Inter's hard-fought win over Getafe in the round of 16, this one was a single-legged tie as well, by the way, Lukaku scored to make it 8 Europa League matches consecutively that he scored in, which equaled Alan Shearer's record run. He scores against Leverkusen, and he breaks the record for scoring in consecutive Europa League matches. And I'd back him to do it, to be honest with you, with the season he's had. While Inter have made some hard work out of matches that they should be winning, their striking partnership of Lautaro and Lukaku is an absolute handful, and recent 2-0 wins over Napoli and Atalanta have shown that they can handle both attacking teams and teams who like to play on the counter. Against Leverkusen, you don't know what you're going to get as far as Peter Bosz goes. He can try some interesting things with his tactics, and they don't always come off. That said, I think that Antonio Conte would love to win this trophy deep down, and I think that Inter will continue this great run of form that has seen them win 4 matches consecutively, and they haven't conceded a single goal once. Inter through to the semis at the expense of Leverkusen. And so with that said, that's it for this video. The way I see it, we'll have a semi-final between United and Sevilla, and on the other side, it will be contested by Inter and Shakhtar. Can't wait, and I can't wait to read your guys' comments and who you think is going through to the semifinals. So, if you enjoyed this video, then a like is always appreciated. Otherwise, I will catch you in the next one, and hey, don't forget about all the Champions League coverage we'll have in the coming weeks as well. I'll have my Champions League quarterfinals predictions out as soon as the round of 16 is done. All right? Hope to see you in the watch-along on Saturday, and take care. Ciao.